Hello and welcome to Edupedia World. It's now time that we take a look at a very important technique in motion graphics, just in general in the 3D industry, VFX industry. It's called 3D tracking or motion tracking, and it's a very important technique because it allows you to put elements in your video so they look like they belong there. So what I mean by that is that I'll just show you this. It's a 3D tracking example where I've just placed some simple 2D text in this video, and they actually look like they are in the video. So you can see this 3D tracking just floats around in midair, and example in the background just sits on the table and it moves along perfectly with the table. So how has this been done? It basically works that way that I can shoot some video, and as you can see, this video has a lot of texture in it. There's like all these corners, all this texture, all these books with a lot of contrast, this newspaper. I can just shoot some video, and then the computer can analyze the video. It can take a look at all the different points and see how they move accordingly to each other. And from that, the camera, this program can actually recreate a digital camera in the computer that imitates the movements of the original camera that has moved it, that has recorded it. So as you can see, my camera turns right, then it keeps turning right, moves forward a bit, and it turns left, moves forward a bit, and moves left again, turns left. And it's also just bumping up and down in between. So what After Effects has done when it has tracked this video is that it has given me a 3D camera that imitates the movements, and it does it very precisely. That means I can take some different layers like this 3D text and actually move that around in 3D space as I like, and then the camera will move along and it will show the text as if it was real. So let's move this forward a bit, and as you can see, it just moves accordingly to the video as it was there, just like it would be in the real world. And if it's done correctly with enough precision, and it looks very believable. And I think this example looks pretty believable. You can see 3D tracking just floating around in front of the light, and then example is in the background. So let's take a look at how you can do this yourself. Another quick thing to notice, I don't know if you saw it, but there's actually a bit of a shadow behind example. I will also show you how you can do that. So let's just find the footage. So I think it's this shot. Drop it onto the timeline. No, it was not that one. Must be this one instead. Drop it onto the timeline, and yeah, here's our footage. So how can we do a 3D track? Well, doing a 3D track in After Effects is actually extremely easy. The only thing you have to do is find your footage, so let's call this footage, and then you just have to right click on the footage and choose track camera, and then the camera will actually just go through the video and look at each frame. You can see it's now at frame 20 out of 192, and then it will just find a lot of points and analyze how they move accordingly to each other. So this will take some time. Made with my camera when I recorded this. So as you can see now, it's solving the camera, and it's done. if we open up this advanced menu, then it will give us an average error. This just shows how precise After Effects thinks it has been, and an average error of 1.47 pixels, that's alright, it's not that good. If you have a great track, I would say a great track is when this is below like 0.7, then everything should look pretty believable. But this is always, this is alright, we can work with this very easily. And I'll also show you ways that you can increase or decrease the average error. So let's make this as simple as possible, and we want to create this text that stood on the corner of this box. So we will just select some points, so I'll just drag around these points, and as you can see we get this crosshair or target. It's called a target, and this basically shows what plane that all these points are on. So as you can see, the points, they are almost all of them are on the side of these wooden things, and that means they are like on a plane that's like sits right here, and as you can see the red target shows that. So what we can do is right click and then say create text and camera. That will create some text that is in the plane of all these points. So as you can see, the text is like sitting flush with these boxes, and we've now also gotten a camera. That means if we go through the video, we will see the text sticking on to the wood. So what we can do now is actually move this text around. When you do this, you have to be very careful to not move it out of the correct 3D position. As you can see, the anchor point is right here, and the anchor point is going to be at the plane here on the corners, and then just a bit above the plank here on the bottom. So it's not gonna be like, it's not gonna be like in this hole. It's gonna be right flush with the corners here. So if we start rotating by pressing W, then we can rotate and make the text fit the scene even better. If we now press V, we can move it upwards, and we have to make sure that we are moving only with these axis tools and not using just clicking somewhere and dragging, because that kind of can move the wrong thing. And also if you click in the middle, then you're just gonna move it somewhere that you don't know exactly. So let's just drag it over here a bit out on the Z-axis. As you can see now, we can just line it up as nicely as we can, and we can just move this around because this is all 3D tracked. So if we put it in the right 3D position, then it will look very believable, and I think this will do. Press V to just decrease the size, and I'll just double click and type in something else. So let's just say Edupedia world. Control Enter, and let's decrease the size a bit more. Move this back on the x-axis, and this should actually now be tracked onto the wood. And as you can see, the the text can go out of frame, and it will still look like it's on in the right position. So as you can see now, the video is playing through and it's tracking perfectly. It's just like it would be there in the real world. We can create a shadow. when we create the shadow, we want to make sure that the text that we have written here is exactly as we want it, because when we create the shadow, we duplicate this layer and then press W, rotate it down, and then hold Shift so that it will snap, or just eyeball it. I'll just say, okay, this, I think this amount of rotation looks reasonable. I'm looking at this line and trying to line it up with this green, so I'll say this is actually better. So now we have two layers of text. The bottom layer here, we can call that shadow. It of course doesn't have to be, it cannot be white when it's a shadow, so I'll just add a tint and put it onto the shadow. Then we want to make, so this basically says we want to make all the black colors on a layer black, and then we also want on the white areas, because this is all white, we want all the white areas to be black as well. And now we have a shadow. There we go. This shadow is very harsh, so I'll just do a fast blur. It's very sharp, and of course no shadow is this sharp, so I'll just add a few pixels of blurriness, and then I'll also decrease the opacity, so press T and just decrease that. And there we go. We can now preview this, and we will see Edupedia world being perfectly tracked in with a nice shadow. If we want to, we can take this text, Control D, duplicate it, and then just take some text, as I did in the other example, and just move it off to somewhere you want it. And I'll just place it out here in the middle of nowhere, and just do like this. Test. Preview the video, and as you can see, the text that says test is now just floating around in midair, and it looks like it's there because it's tracked in. So this is all pretty cool for like motion graphics and stuff, because you can add text. If you're doing like a video with lyrics, then you could have the lyrics be in the video, but it's not that useful for like, this kind of 3D tracking where I just add text. It's not that useful for like movie making, but the next small tutorial will be very useful for movie making, because we will be replacing the screen on our television.
Thank you for watching Edupedia World. Stay tuned for more videos.